Christian News from English Christian Times. New South Wales worship restrictions changed after complaints of unfair treatment. Churches in New South Wales will be allowed to open with the same restrictions as other buildings after Australian Catholics complained that religious services were being treated unfairly. Over the past few days, 20,000 Catholics signed a petition by the Sydney Archdiocese asking Premier Gladys to offer churches the same treatment as other NSW venues. Racism is not a thing of the past. US bishops respond to George Floyd killing. Leaders of the United States Bishops' Conference responded to the killing of an African American man in Minneapolis this week by stressing that the fight to eradicate racism is a pro-life issue. As bishops, we unequivocally state that racism is a life issue, they said in a May 29 statement. Hearing cry of the poor is a key message of Laudato Si, Cardinal Turkson says. Cardinal Peter Turkson has said that the principle of non-violence extends beyond opposing physical violence and must include the protection of human rights from exploitation. Acknowledging the week's protests and rioting in Minneapolis, the Vatican Cardinal made the comments during an event to mark 5 years since the promulgation of the papal encyclical Laudato Si. Last Missouri abortion clinic will stay open despite state safety concerns. The last abortion clinic in Missouri will be allowed to continue operating despite the state's decision not to renew its license last year because of health and safety concerns. Some experts split from Fauci on Holy Communion recommendation. Christ can overcome racism, Minnesota priest says at George Floyd prayer service. The love of Christ can overcome the sin of racism, the pastor of the historic Minnesota African American parish said Friday at a prayer service in the aftermath of the protests and riots in St. Paul and Minneapolis following the death of George Floyd in police custody. Churches in Malaysia banned from using Allah. Christians in Putrajaya, Malaysia face legal persecution in High Court's decision to reserve the right for Muslims to have exclusive usage of the term Allah to refer to God. Documents about that decision became classified under the Official Secrets Act in 2017. For years, the Sidang Inch Bernia Church has fought against that decision. Pandemic and persecution in the Middle East. The COVID-19 pandemic has initialized global lockdowns, slowing down societies but not religious persecution. In the Middle East, where persecution was one defined by Islamic State, the pandemic exposed a transformation of religious freedom violations. Terrorism remained a driver of persecution, especially in conflict areas. Australian Archbishop praises decision to raise limit on numbers at Mass. Archbishop Anthony Fisher of Sydney has praised the government of the Australian state of New South Wales for putting churches on equal terms with pubs and restaurants and allowing religious services involving up to 50 people beginning June 1st. None of us is alone in this world. Each of us is a vital piece of the great mosaic of humanity as a whole. St. John Paul II. News Desk, Christian Times.